Okay, in this case I want to explain the thing that they call transformation. What is it all about? So we start off with a quite simple idea. The idea will work like this. We know that there is such a thing that they call the exponential distribution. I guess everybody who learned a little bit of the probabilities and actuary exam P knows what it is. Now we imagine that there is x and y. X is a random variable, has the same distribution. Both have the exponential distribution with a mean of 1. That's the simple example. Now, I know there's a lot of models with this kind of stuff. What's x plus y or x divided by y? All kinds of stuff going around. Here, we're going to make like this. We know that exponential distribution goes from 0 to infinite, and we know that the PDF of it is e negative x. So here we go. This is 0, up and down. This is the x, this is the y, and both of them share the same PDF. That's e to the negative x, this is e to the negative y. Here you see basically how this works. Now, we're going to use imagination here. We have here this joint distribution of x and y, and since they're independent, it's quite easy, we can figure out. So I'll make here a small square that goes up to the point 2, 2. That's it. We're getting from x goes from 0 to 2, y goes from 0 to 2. So this small box, somebody might ask, what is the probability that something is in that box? So in the fancy language it would be that x would be less than 2 and y would be less than 2. Let's assume x is a certain lifetime of something and y. The question would be, what is the probability that both of them would live less than 2? That might be a question on any exam. The simple way is like this. You just since they're independent, we multiply probability x is less than 2 is 1 minus e negative 2 times 1 minus e negative 2. That is, you can just square it. Wrote it down the bottom of the page. 1 minus e to the negative 2 squared. Because both are independent, so you just multiply the f, the cumulative distribution. That's called the f of x, the big F of x, times the big F of y. Write it down here. Fx times Fy. Take a look here. This is the way how to do it. If you want to know the CDF, anything from 2 to 0, both limited on the x and on the y. If you take the f, the capital F of x times the capital F of y, that's 1 minus e to the negative 2 squared. And you just take the calculator, you do it very fast. You take 1 minus e to the negative 2 e to the negative 2 squared. Here you go, I'll write it on the screen. You see 0.7476. So it's a nice chance, it's a 74% chance that something is going to happen there in that area. In other words, in this language, you would say that, let's imagine that something has exponential distribution with a mean of 1. So there's a 74% that it will die before, that both things will die actually. There's two things here, that there's two independent machines or something, So there is such a 74% chance that both will live less, both will die before 2. Okay, this is just introduction. Now we're doing something else. Now we're taking something, making a transformation. What is transformation? So we're taking this thing here. Real model just use 100% theoretical without any application. Just understand what's happening. We're making a new random variable. It's going to be called u and v. U is equal to x plus y. V is equal to x minus y. You can see it here on the top of the page. So we know that, just to get a picture of the stuff here, that since u is x plus y, and x can go from 0 to infinite, y can go from 0 to infinite, so u can also go from 0 to infinite, because x can be 0, y can be 0, x can be 10, y can be 30. It can be any positive values. So obviously u, just have a very broad imagination how this new graph is going to look. U is definitely going to span out from 0 to infinite. V is x minus y. So let's use a little imagination. X can be any positive number, y can be any positive number. So let's assume that x is higher than y, is a higher number than y, is a greater number than y. So then it's going to be a positive. If x is lower, less than y, it's going to be negative. So v can be any number between negative infinite and positive infinite. So here's interesting. This transformation is the new graph is going to map out everything from this old huge graph paper that spans out from 0 to infinite on the x-axis, 0 to infinite on the y-axis. This new graph paper, I'm going to make you a diagram how it's going to look. This is going to be the u-axis is like the x. This is the v-axis. Take a look at this new graph. U goes from 0 to infinite. V goes from negative infinite to positive infinite. Why? Because, as I showed you, x minus y can be any number. For example, x say is very big and y is very small number. So then it's positive. It's vice versa. It's negative. So v can be anything from negative to positive. Anyway, now we still didn't do. We're just beating around the bush. Now let's go to like this. Let's take this tiny piece, this section, and try to fit this into this new graph, into the graph that has a u and v. Here we're going to see how we can do some interesting stuff. So, in a new paper, it's going to have just u and v on it instead of x and y. So let's see. This top point, let's start doing some interesting stuff here. This point, this I call this the 2 point. Where is this point going to be carried on this new graph? So let's make x plus y is 4, x minus y is 0. So this new graph is going to be, this point is going to land. We're having a big, I don't know how to call it, like a parachute. We're carrying him from this graph to this graph. And this UV graph is called the UV graph. Right here, U, and here V. In the UV graph, he's going to land on a point that's called 4, 0. So I'm going to make a star to see that this point is going to land here. So again, there's a star here that's right here. 2 point. 2 plus 2 is 4. 2 minus 2 is 0. So in this graph, this is a new graph, that's the UV. He is sitting here on the point that's 4, 0. U is 4 and V is 0. Let's just work around a little bit more. How about the point? I'll make this picture is going to be like an inverted triangle. see I made here inverted triangle. This inverted triangle is at a point where x is 2 and y is 0. So 2 plus 0 is 2. X minus y is also... I think I have to stop the video because it's going to get... I have to continue the next video because this is more than 10 minutes.